Well, look here. You are listening to someone who is bold, authentic, diverse, unpredictable. Baby, I am unapologetically Ramon, and you have entered my zone, the QB zone, baby. Hello, somebody.
And there's no objection.
So today I'm very excited because I have a few different topics that I am looking forward to discussing. And the reason why I picked the individual that you guys will be hearing from today is because they are all diverse. I know them all very well. And I have a lot of love, respect, and appreciation for their intellect, their opinions, and just how they have personally benefited me. And so I just want to introduce them. First, I will start with my top left. I have Miss Brittney Revere. She works for the county of Broward County. We have Jonathan Moses, who is a intergovernmental contract liaison for Dade County. We have Jacques Toussaint, who is a director of inclusion and diversity for Florida State University. And I have a contract specialist, Jokera McNeil, who is rounding out my roundtable panel for today. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing? Everybody day, everybody week is going good so far?
Yes.
Good, no
It
complaints.
was busy, but it was a good day.
I can imagine. I'm glad. I definitely appreciate all of you guys taking out your time and your busy schedule to do this. And so I just go ahead and get straight started with our first topic. And I'm sure it's something we can all relate to, and that's definitely mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all sometimes intentionally make them, sometimes, unintentionally, but we all make them. We all have to learn from them. I'm just curious, when it comes to mistakes, personally, professionally, whatever, I would like for each one of you guys to kind of start off by sharing one mistake that you guys have experienced. Of course, that you're comfortable with. I don't want you to, share too much of your business, but whether personally, professionally, what's one mistake that you guys have had to endure, that you guys have had to deal with, starting with you, Jock?
That I've had to endure with. I'm actually now finally, coming to terms and actually handling it now was staying in Tallahassee for too long. I think sometime, graduated, went to grad school at FAM, and then the job came right after. The money was nice, but I feel like I should have just got up and left afterward because I had an offer come out of college in Chicago. So applying for positions over the past year and a half, trying to leave, has been a challenge for me. And I realized, leaving and getting a diverse experience in my resume would have been really helpful. But that's something I've had to live with. But now I've learned how to adjust to it, what to do, proper things to do to get proper things to do to be able to move forward and be able to get out of that position, that area that I feel so comfortable in. And I'm trying to grow and challenge myself to be uncomfortable and go somewhere else and be better.
Okay. How about you, Brittney?
One mistake that I feel like I made in life was this gonna sound kind of harsh, but getting into the child welfare system.
Okay.
I have 2 degrees in criminal justice. The first from Florida Memorial, the second one from Nova Southeastern University in investigative forensic technology. So ultimately, I love criminal justice, and I actually want to work crime scene. I just think I sometimes feel like I've been in this field for too long. It's gonna be, I think, 8 years the end of this year, I believe. To most people, 8 is not a long time, but to me, it's like I kind of feel like I got sucked in to this field, and it's hard to get out of once you get into it.
Absolutely.
And I have applied over the past few years. I still can't believe we in 2021, but I think since about maybe 2013, I've applied to various police departments and things, trying to get different positions. At first, they were substituting education for work experience, but now the roles have reversed. Now they want you to have the experience and they won't take the educational background. So I don't know, some days I feel like I'm at a standstill in this field, but then again, now being that I work where I work with child protection, I feel a little bit more at ease because based off of the line of work that I do, I help prosecute those that physically or sexually abused children in today's society, from 4-month-olds up until 17-year-olds. Like, the work that I do, it definitely counts. But at first I used to feel like, I'm tired of this, I want to get out the field, and I apply, but you know, the door never really got open. But I just come to terms with it, and I'm like, okay, God, you have me here for a reason, so I'm just gonna stay here until you see fit for me to move.
And I think I can relate too, because I have both of my degrees in criminal justice as well, and I had no desire to be in social work, no desire. I wanted to go into probations and kind of work up through the justice system in regards to corrections. I wanted to work for a prison. My dream job growing up was always to be like an assistant warden or something like that. Like, I really want to go down that route. And I think moving back to Brevard County, which Jokera knows not too many options there, but you know, going back to Brevard County, had no choice, and just working. The first thing that accepted me was a job in child welfare as a case manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I always go into something wanting to give it 100%. Whether it's what I want to do, I'm still want to give it my all. And so utilizing personal experiences and just really want to do your best, I didn't expect to be good at it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be a means to ends, do it for 2-3 years. And then last year made 10 years. And then I was like, I never thought I'd be this long. But when I started to see the effects that I was having, not because of anything special of my own, I just generally, with these cases, were prayed to be used and were prayed to be effective. And when I kept seeing the effect, that's what kept drawing me in to stay in child welfare for so long. And then having to go through some negative things in life that kind of shake you up a little bit, you know, it kind of finally put me over into the healthcare field, still doing aspects of social work. So I can definitely relate to that. I think for me, if I were to look at some of my mistakes, I think that I have sought validation from the wrong places. I think that I have given up myself to friendships that I should not have. I think that has caused me to get in the way of my own blessings, my own positive opportunities. And it has definitely led me to make some additional mistakes, kind of like becoming like a domino effect. So I'll say for me, that was probably one of my biggest things. I think that going through what I've gone through the last 2 years, and we'll probably briefly touch on in another topic today, I think that it caused me to really look at my foundation and who has been consistent in that foundation. So that kind of made me realize that these are my standards for the people in my life, and not accepting anything less of them, as well as holding my own self accountable. So going forward with mistakes that we've had and learn from them. Jokera, how about you?
I think that the first one that comes to mind is after college, leaving fam, I decided that I was going to move to Tampa. Moving to Tampa wasn't the issue, but it was the reason behind me moving to Tampa was the issue. I moved to Tampa behind a boyfriend at the time, without a plan, a job, or anything. Like, I was following him, and felt that I would figure it out once I got there.
Right.
Well, yeah, shortly after I got there, that boyfriend and that relationship ended, like very shortly after I got there. So now I'm here in Tampa, no longer with this boyfriend that I followed to get there, still trying to find a job with a degree. I'm working retail, and I'm just like, this is not what this was supposed to be. But I'm the type of person that once I make a decision, instead of like wallowing in it, figuring out, okay, what's next? And usually if I make a decision, I stick with it. And sometimes that can be to a fault, but I figured out. So instead of leaving Tampa because the relationship didn't work, I stayed in Tampa. Stayed in Tampa for 3 years. Worked retail, but then also found another job doing finance. So once I worked through finance, but the interesting thing was while I was in Tampa, I believe I found it as a stepping stone. So I feel like those 3 years in Tampa pretty much prepared me for the life and experience to be in DC or in the DC area now, because it's definitely much faster pace, a little more, cutthroat in this area. And I believe having to stand on my own and figure these things out in Tampa was the preparation for me to get here.
Yeah, I definitely.
True.
That's very much true. I'll leave that. Jonathan, how about you, sir?
Cool. So I'm gonna stay in the whole, professional space as well. And I'll say for me, I left Tallahassee in 2015. So here we are, 6 years later now. Well, coming up on 6 years later. So a lot of my friends are, been finished law school. I have a friend that's about to become a what do you call it? The animal doctors again? Veterinarian. Yeah, couldn't think of it right now. Right. Veterinarian. So, for me, I always have been very ambitious. Had high goals, and even growing up, like I want to be an attorney, more so because they made a lot of money per se. But that was on the list. Go graduate, get some work experience, and then get right back into school. And I haven't moved on that as quickly as I probably could have. So I think that's something that, looking back, I probably would have handled differently. And I'm, grateful for my career and the opportunities that I've had. I also recently started my business, which I'm most passionate about, traveling. So, exposing other people to having the opportunity to travel and experience different things around the world. That's something I want to do long term. So, but I would say just focusing on that a little bit earlier. And, if I was going to decide to continue, with school, going straight through as opposed to taking so much time in between.
And let me just say that for you to start a business and traveling, and Jacques know where I'm going, that is quite important for you, because God knows you always traveling somewhere. Every time I turn around, you are in somebody's country. And it's like an inside joke in our little group. We'll be like, okay, so what country are you in today? So I think that's dope. You use the passion and now you turn it into a income. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then I started in the middle of the pandemic. So things are starting to open up now. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, definitely happy for you. What are some common mistakes that you guys have seen people make? Whether it's personally, professional, what would be some common mistakes? I think for me, I would probably say relationship choice.
I was just about to say.
Yeah.
And we probably all have made that choice.
That's a major one.
Yeah. How about you, Jokera? Anything you've seen?
Other than relationship?
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm drawing a blank right now, but
We'll come back to Jokera. Job.
I would say comparing. I think one thing that a lot of us do when we got to college, when we're moving through our careers, we're seeing our different. Me, for example, I caught myself when I tried to do it one time, but I have a bunch of friends who are attorneys, they got their doctors, they're going to rest, they're engineers, they got all these great big jobs, and they're making great money. But I'm like, I'm actually making $150,000 too, like my friends. But what we have to realize is everyone's blessing come at different times. Some of them were able to get out of college and be engineers and go to great med school and be able to get those opportunities. Where I had to sit back, go to grad school, work in higher education for a while, and now I'm about to get my big opportunity. So it's like and when you compare, that causes you going to depression. That causes you to doubt yourself. That causes you to doubt your ability. At the end of the day, not all of us we're ever gonna make $180,000 to $200,000 a year. But for most part, we're going to be able to make $67,000. But that's what God's purpose. That's what He wanted us to be at. So I think the big thing people make are comparing to others around them and trying to live a lifestyle, because social media is the biggest drug. Because you see Moses on vacation, you want to go to Aruba, you want to go somewhere too, but you don't know how long Moses saved up for that vacation.
Right.
Because people, you see me buying a pair of Gucci shoes, Louis shoes, or whatever you me buying, or you want to go buy one with your, I guess, the stimulus, which is your stimulus check. But
Yes.
you don't know how long I saved for that pair of shoes or that pair of belt or whatever. And I think that's the thing is Instagram, Twitter, they build this false reality of what real life really is, and that people get caught up in that mess, and that they start comparing and they start killing themselves when your blessing could be a year, 2 years, 6 months, 2 weeks down the line, but you're blocking that blessing because you're trying to compare and live like you're somebody that you're not.
Absolutely.
Better preach.
How about you, Brittney?
You said, what about me?
Any common mistakes you've seen people make? Relationship?
Financial mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
People, like Jacques said, they get into this facade of faking it till you make it. Don't fake it till you make it, baby, because if you ain't got it, you just ain't got it. I know of people who have purchased vehicles that they can't afford, but that's their dream car. I understand that's your dream car, but what are you neglecting so you can maintain that dream car?
Right.
You have to have balance when it comes to finances and, relationship wise and also job wise. We get in these positions and we find complacency. We're comfortable because, prime example, county jobs. I work for the county. That's good and all, but are you moving up in the county? My particular job, people have been there 18, 19, literally 18, 19 years. There's two people that recently got promoted. One had been there for 15 years. The other one been there for 18 years. It took 18 years for you to become a supervisor. You became complacent within your, job space, which obviously, whatever they had, whatever things they had going on within, HR and all that stuff as to why it took so long to, open up positions and allow people to be promoted. Because actually my supervisor, when I started there 3 years ago, she had been there. She retired. I think she was there for almost 30 years. So you got one person that retired at 30 years. So boom, another slot becomes open. So now somebody else can apply for that position and, so on and so forth. So we become complacent in employment, complacent in relationships, and complacent in finances. We compare and we contrast different things. And I 100% agree with Jacques as far as the social media component is concerned, because I too have fell victim to social media when it comes to relationships. I'm a sucker for love, honey. I'm a sucker for people that travel with their significant others. They taking these bomb photos and, vacations and family vacations and, they out with the kids and things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I get stars in my eyes when I used to see stuff like that. And I did, speaking from truth and honesty, I got into a depressive mode looking at that stuff on social media. Materialistic, I don't too much care about. Like, we had everything growing up, but the love aspect, I would get sick. Like, dang, why that ain't me yet? Like, well, where my bae at? Like, why I ain't on no vacation? Like, come on, like, you know a little bit more about my background. So I do feel like that's a big, hindrance in our life. But I also feel like church is a thing that people neglect, that they fall, by the wayside when it comes to that because of church hurt. People have a tendency to not go back to church because of something that happened 5 years ago with their family members or things of that sort, and they just go haywire. Listen, we all got to put God at the center of everything that we do. Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. So I feel like, that's also an issue where people make mistakes that I don't know everybody's, spiritual or religious preferences on this, Zoom or things of that sort. But as you can tell, I am a Christian and I do believe in God, the Alpha and Omega. And I believe that everybody should, serve one God. It might be Buddha, it might be Confucius, or whoever, the sun, the moon, the Aries, the Taurus, or whatever it is people want to serve. But I serve King Jesus. And I feel like that's the issue with today's society as well. Like the world is just in turmoil, and it's too many factors. Like this conversation could go on and on and on with so much different input that it will blow your mind. So I agree with Jacques, and it's like so many different things that you can add to it.
Yeah, absolutely. One quote that I want to read is one thing that I said in this particular chapter is, it's not quite beneficial to keep it all in. Don't try and be a quiet fixer. Mistakes often have side effects, and pretending that it didn't happen is dangerous. Jokera, what do you think about what I just said? What do you think about those words?
I believe it is definitely real and true. It hits personal because I think that I tend to be one of those quiet fixers, where I find myself as like suffering in silence, so to speak. I'm a person, but I give myself to many people because like that's just the type of person I am, as far as like a listener and helping people through giving advice or opinions as they ask through their situations. But usually when I have my own issues, I usually just stay to myself, and it does become quite heavy, and like has led to moments of anxiety to the point where you just like break down and like literally in tears, to like uncontrollable, can't really figure out, have no rhyme or reason why it's happening. As a matter of fact, this actually has happened to me probably about a month ago. I'm just sitting watching TV and just burst out in tears. I mean, like bawling. And that happened for like 2 or 3 days.
Oh, wow.
But if to pinpoint or to ask me exactly why or what was wrong, I can't tell you. But I could say there were a lot of things that were piling up between work, just like probably this pandemic, being in this apartment constantly all the time, can't go nowhere or whatever. But I think like holding things in is definitely tough, and it shouldn't be something that, if you don't want to talk to a friend, if you have a therapist that, can let those things out. I do understand and recognize those things, but it's like for so long, I've been that type of person to keep it in. So I guess breaking out of that habit is hard too, but I agree. I agree with this statement. Yes.
How about you, Jonathan? What do you think?
I definitely identify a lot with, what Jokera just shared. I'm very, I can be that same way in terms of like internalizing a lot. And I think that, just with the pandemic and everything, a lot of our regular interactions, like you said, we're going to church on a consistent basis. I was raised in the church my entire life. So like this entire period is like the most, I've gone in life where that hasn't been a part of my regular, interactions. So, I guess you have, your virtual, and you have, you still interact with your friends and family, but a lot of times when you hold that in, again, those people are there to support you. So you have to know, who those people are. And once you have a clear assessment of that, you have to trust them and, to provide that support. So it's definitely something that I'm working on and improving it. And what we were saying before, it kind of ties both together is like misprioritization, I think. So, looking at, I'm trying to keep up with this person. I need to, social media is a whole conversation in it of itself. Right. But then outside of it, on the spiritual side, we focus on, just having a good time, whatever the case may be, as opposed to, really getting centered within ourselves, getting centered with God, and really, being in tune with what we should be doing. So I think that, again, putting that focus and really prioritizing that self-awareness, as well as being connected to whatever your spiritual source is, does a lot to address that. And then, like I said, just connecting with your circle.
I think we all have gotten to where we are in life by being centered in something in one way, shape, or form, but also having role models. And so I think that one of the next topics I want to talk about is role models. I think that's very important to have role models, not just personally, but professionally, and even sometimes spiritually.
Mm.
When you think of what a role model is, how would you define to you, Jacques, what a role model is?
Well, a role model is someone that you cannot just look up to, but somebody that's a mentor. A role model doesn't not have to be. I think one thing that they have to be. Oh, they have to be a Jay-Z, or they have to be a Warren Buffett or somebody. I mean, that's a great role model to have, but role model could be somebody that's in your household. It could be your dad, it could be your mom, it could be your uncle, it could be your cousin, your younger cousin. And it could be somebody that basically just helps you. Somebody that you can look up to, that their story, their situation, their drive, their journey motivates you. They become your role model. That's what you look up to. Not to, with me, my parents, my role model, because they always tell me strive to be better than them. So I see what they've done. They help me get to the point that I am. What can I do to help them to myself, but also help them to get to the next level? So it doesn't have to. Role model is somebody that small or big you can look up to, who can also mentor you, but at the same time, it can help you elevate and go on to the next phase of your life.
What does a role model mean for you, Brittney?
A role model to me is someone who encourages you and helps push you to the limit. Someone that has, that tenacity, that has that drive and hunger for success, whether it's success in a business, success in a professional role, or success in a spiritual aspect of life. To me, like Jacques said, a role model can be anyone, a family member, a friend, a colleague. It could be a famous person too, or, that's other people's preferences. But for me, my role model would actually be one of my sorors who she works for the government, like one of the top 3 agencies of the government. And for me, her being my role model was the way that she carried herself as a woman of God. She mentored me when I was at my lowest points, and she was one of the people that was able to identify, like, okay, Brittney's not herself. Like, she low-key done let herself go, and, we don't do that around here. Like, you gotta carry yourself with class and dignity and, some righteousness. But to me, a role model can be anyone. It could be my next door neighbor, because I see how strong she is with her children, being a single parent. And, that may give me some encouragement. God forbid if I was ever a single parent, like, okay, I can do this because she can do this. And, X, Y, and Z. So someone that really there to listen and support you, even in a time of struggle. And someone that could identify when you're struggling, not someone that's just going to look over, okay, she all right. I mean, she just having a bad day today. What if that bad day was actually a couple of months or a couple of weeks, maybe even a year? So you want somebody that can identify when you're having issues, but also someone you can go to listen for support, and, for fun and for laughter, and to have good times with. Someone you could also ultimately make memories with.
Jokera, if you had to think of one person who was your role model, who would you pick and why?
Honestly, I think I would say my mom, and in that aspect would be just her calmness and her softness of like dealings with people, like being very caring and generous. And I just feel that is something that it's like a good energy. So like those are good vibes and energy that you put out into the universe. And essentially, as you move through the world, these are things that'll come back to you in a positive light. She's very mild, but at the same time, don't get it twisted. You ain't gonna try her, right. But it's just in the way like she handles different situations. And I find myself even in moments of that might get me a little riled up to like she embodies me, and I stop and pause for a second, take a breath, think about what's going on logically, rationally before, you know, barking out a response or answer. So, yeah, I would say my mom.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, when I would go back home to certain events, you know, I would see her at events and stuff, and I've always felt like you reminded me of her. Would you say that your brothers are more like your dad?
No, to an extent. My younger brother particularly, probably, so when they're angry, they're very much like my dad. My dad is very, you know, very headstrong, very like loud, boisterous, or whatever. But for the most part, actually, me and my brothers take after my mom in the sense of she does have a sense of just calmness, and that calmness and that nonchalant like demeanor at certain times. Like I think we have that for the most part, but what we get from my dad is, you know, if you hit that switch,
right, then that others, yeah,
be ready.
Right.
Be ready. But definitely I try to approach more situations with her in mind.
Okay. Jonathan, who would you say is one of your role models and why?
So I'll first have to say my parents. It's crazy because, you know, when you're growing up and they're so hard on you and just different things that irritate you, like
annoying.
But as an adult, and you know, I don't have any kids yet, but I just see how different things are now reflected in my life, and you know, the pressure and you know how hard that they were on me that led me to, you know, where I'm at this point. So, you know, I'm just extremely grateful to have both my mother and my father. It's like fire and ice. My mom, everybody, you know, loves her, and my dad, everybody loves him too, but he's definitely a little bit more, you know, chill and reserved. So I take that both aspects of their personality on. I also, not to be cliche, but I'll say President Obama. So 2008, you know, he ran and won, and just, you know, really observing that, that really was impactful on me and, you know, my career aspirations and wanting to work in government and to eventually run for office. So seeing the way that, you know, not just the way he handled himself professionally, but the way that he took care of his family, the way that he was just an upstanding, you know, individual to the community, the way he was able to inspire others. So like everybody else shared earlier, you know, a mentor, not a mentor, a role model is someone, you know, that inspires you to do more, to do greater. And now in my own life, as I serve as a mentor to my mentees that are now graduating from college and just doing different things in life, you just never know, you know, what spark or what impact that you can have on others' lives. So, you know, the key thing obviously is just making sure that you know, you live life in such a way that you can be a role model in all ways. And I think like some of you all shared as well, you know, every conversation is not formal and, you know, a check-in of how your grades, this, that, and the other. You know, it's just about, you know, having a you know, support system in life, and, you know, knowing that you have that person that you can call and, you know, check in with and follow up with, and, you know, ask about the things that, because I mean, at the end of the day, somebody else has already been wherever you want to go. So, you know, as long as you can create that path for them, I'm doing the right thing.
I think for me, I would definitely have to say that my role models were my grandparents. You know, you had two individuals, one who came from the backwoods of Alabama, my grandmother, the other who came from the Everglades here in Florida, but grew up very poor. And all I remember was growing up in Brevard County, about 10 minutes from Jokera, and we had a nice house, big yard. We had a house in another part of town that, you know, we rented out. We took trips all the time. My grandmother was an engineer at a company called Harris. My granddad had his own landscaping business. So that's what I knew. But when I got to know the story, my grandmother was 11, 12 years old, growing up in the backwoods of Alabama in the 30s, or early 40s, where, you know, her family were sharecroppers. You know, they had to pick cotton. She's 11, 12 years old picking cotton just so they could have something to eat. And growing up in a place where she grew up by her grandparents. You are used to chickens and hogs and just that whole environment. And then my great grandmother moved to Brevard County to work and hopefully build a better life. She then went and got my grandmother and her siblings. And then my grandmother started having her life, and just growing up poor in the projects, met my granddad at 18, got married at 19, and was married, until she died, although they separated. That was a whole different conversation. But, they were married and they were together under the same roof for 50-something years, and they worked hard, raised 5 kids. Nobody ever knew they was poor or had a modest upbringing because they worked hard to give their kids the best of everything. All my uncles and aunts played sports. They were in activities. Then they raised me, a grandchild, and I was in some of everything. So seeing how you work hard and you can come from the bottom and have the life that they live, but also have, not to say richness, but generational wealth in the sense that you raised your kids, and because of the foundation you set, your kids are good, your grandkids are good. But you grew up poor with no education. My granddad didn't go past high school. My grandmother only had a little CNA, well, now they call it CNA, but back then she just had like a little nursing tech situation. But that's the life that they built for themselves. And for me, just that integrity and their hard work. And I know, some of you guys speaking about your parents and just how they handle situations with me. Something bad happens, is probably, well, up until, I started becoming a new person, it's the end of the world. I can get angry real quick. I can fly off the handle real quick. Something negative happened. I'm probably depressed and, whatever. And I never understood how something negative and bad can happen. And she just even keel, laid back, no expression. I want to be loud and want to tell something. You just sitting here talking about something, let's pray. Pray to who? And then just speaking on faith, I never understood how this woman could have so much faith. And it seemed like your husband done did you wrong, your husband done did X, Y, Z, your kids disrespectful, your grandchild hard-headed as hell, and you want to send him back to his mama some days, I'm sure. And then, you still trying to maintain a certain lifestyle with an income that is not what you're used to, and then you're the grandmother, you're the matriarch. So you want to be there for any and everybody. You give everybody your heart and soul, and just that level of faith has definitely been something that has gotten me through. It has definitely been a role model for me. But I think more than nothing else, I don't care what happens to me, and I know Jokera and Brittney can attest, I don't care what happens to me, and I'm going to have those moments where I may be down, I may feel like it's in the world, but for some reason, I've always been able to find something that pushes me to want to fight through, pushes me to want to work hard through whatever that obstacle is. And I've never been a stranger to hard work. My grandma has always worked hard. My granddad has always worked hard. So I've never been a stranger to hard work. I like to work hard. I like to get up in the morning and go to work and work for, a job. I don't want to be on government assistance and I'm pretty sure we all know at least one person who's probably content with that. But me, I want to go to work and I want to earn mine. And so that is just something that I say I would got from them as my role model. And, just speaking of my grandmother, that does lead into the next subject that I will say I did not want to talk about, but I felt like it will be important. I also felt like I would be comfortable enough because of my relationship with the 5 of you, even though Jacques is probably the new kid on the block when it comes to my life. But I do feel comfortable enough to talk about this next subject. The next subject is grief. No secret to the 5 of you that, 2019, I lost my grandmother, and that was for me like I lost my mom. And I think for me, although it wasn't my first time experiencing grief, like, I've lost classmates, I've lost family friends, I lost, like distant relatives, but it was never that close to home. Mm-hmm. And so for me, when it happened, my life was already stressful as hell, just with some other stuff. So when that happened, I thought it was the end of the world. I gave up on everything. I was angry. I was sad. And what I didn't realize was Ramon is no longer in control. I'm so used to being in control of my emotions. I'm so used to being in control at work. I've always had these side endeavors, so I'm so used to being in control of that. But for me to not be in control of my emotions, I hate showing emotions in front of people. You give me to cry in front of people, I'm be mad. Because I used to hate to show that emotion. Now it's like whatever. I don't restrict myself. Whatever emotion I'm feeling at the moment, you're gonna get that emotion. But I think for me, what I learned from that was I'm not in control. This is definitely not something that's gonna end overnight. Because even if something bad happens to me, I'm used to pushing through, throw myself into work, throw myself into some kind of goal, and eventually I get over it. So I think. And, you know, it was like, I remember it was like a roller coaster ride. And I can laugh at certain aspects of it now because I used to feel like I was bipolar as hell. Because I could be in a great moment and we could just be sitting here chopping it up. Just as fast as I blink my eye, I could be angry. Then I could be sad about something. Then I could go back to laughing and seem like I'm the regular Ramon. And then once again, I can go back to, you know, being sad and crying. And it never got better. And I think because we're all, you know, we all love the Lord. We all have some aspect of religious relationship. I think for me, I was so angry and resentful at God because I said, here I am, already going through what I already felt was the worst part of my life. And whenever anything bad happens to me, the first person I turn to, the main person I turn to, you've now taken that person from me. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make it through this? And all of my friends, all of my relatives, they had each other. They had their wives, their girlfriends, their siblings, but I was down here in Miami by myself. And so that made it even worse. And even my close friends, you know, they were out of state or they were in other cities. And so, you know, you have those moments of feeling lonely. You have those moments of just being broken, but I was still going to work. I took 2 days off. And I still went to work because I was so used to throwing myself as a social worker. I was so used to throwing myself into fixing and bettering other people's lives. That was a safety net for me. That was something that was a much needed or welcome distraction. And that was even hard for me to do. And so now I feel like you've taken my number one person. You've taken all of my scapegoats. You've taken all of my positive alternatives. How am I supposed to make it through this? And now I'm supposed to trust you because I was born and raised in the church. And I've definitely seen many times how he has definitely kept me. But then I have resentment towards you. So now I have to deal with this warfare every day. And so I think that that's probably some of the aspects that a lot of people probably deal with grief. You know, and I won't keep dwelling on those aspects. I may come back to it, but I'm just curious. Have any of you guys ever dealt with any aspect of grief? I'll start with Jokera.
So yes, and it in the same, well, not necessarily exact same, but definitely with death. My mom's oldest sister, we called her Big Annie, and she was like a mother figure. Granted, she lived in the Bahamas, but even though she lived in the Bahamas, but I went to the Bahamas every summer when I was younger. Excuse me. And you know, she just always looked after us, and she was very close, and like she always came over and visited, and she came over for graduations, and she always traveled with her husband, and you know, like she was everyone's favorite aunt. But then they found a tumor in her brain, and she had surgery, but it returned, and it just became, you know, it was just a down. And she was a very, very proud woman. So like her going down and then not being able, like her speech, you know, it affected her speech and different things like that. She didn't want to talk because she didn't like the way she sounded. And I mean, it just came to a point where when she passed, and actually, you know, that in itself was very hard. And then, but another time, like specifically, would like really hit as far as like depression was, you know, a breakup of what I probably would consider like my first true love, and grief to the point of like all I wanted to do was sleep. I did not want to live through the day-to-day life. Like my days were best when I was asleep. When I had to wake up and I had to live through the day. Like those were the worst moments. Yeah. Wasn't eating. Now, when I was younger, like, you know, I ain't no big girl. So I was already small. And so not eating, like getting down, I'm around that time, I might have been, 20, 24, 25. No, well, probably 22, 23, I think. Between 22 and 24, let's say that. But I'm like 97 pounds because I'm not eating. And just crying myself to sleep. But like you mentioned, Ramon, but throwing myself into work to try to keep busy. So I was living in Tampa and working 2 jobs. So I'm going from one job from 7 to 4, and then leaving that job, go directly to retail and working there from 5 to 9. By the time I get home, I'm tired. Mm-hmm. So all I do is, you know, all I'm doing is sleeping and then getting up the next day and doing it all over again.
Right.
But that definitely ran me into the ground. And I was very short with people, very snappy because I wasn't getting rest. So, yeah, definitely have dealt.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because, you know, I don't want us or anyone to focus or think that grief is just one thing. It is very much the loss of a loved one, a relationship, divorce. To be honest, for some people, a loss of a pet. Some people are very bonded to their pets, and that can be a form of grief for them. Loss of a job. That's another form of grief I can say that I've dealt with, but that is also a form of grief, but also loss of a friendship. You know, you may have a 10, 15-year friendship or whatever, you know, amount of time it lasted. And a lot of times you have to grieve the loss of a friendship. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, some things don't last forever, time in the season. And I'm sure a lot of us have, or maybe some of us have had friendships that it's been hard to let go, but we had to. You know, so just in think about that, you know, how about you, Jacques? Have you dealt with any form of grief?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the main ones is, you know, coming to the U.S., you know, it wasn't that was supposed to be exciting for me. And I think coming here, I think, you know, my grandmother to like me, my aunt to like my family, and I think the grief was, you know, and seeing how, you know, when you in a different country, you know, the U.S., you know, that's the American dream. So you want to be here, you know. And then it's like, I'm from Haiti. We had a great job. My dad worked at a port. He was a manager at a port, and he made a lot of money. My mom I had a maid, I had a nice house in Haiti. And, you know, I thought, you know, the American, what's better than this? You know, going to America and having a couple of mansions and, you know, living your best life. But that's the complete opposite.
Right.
The complete opposite. And, you know, thinking that you're going to have that family support and then realizing you come, you know, the person that brought you here is causing different issues and problems to your mom who don't really speak English, your dad don't really speak English. And it hurt and it sucks. And it's because, you know, it's my mom's mom. It's my mom's sister who, you know, me and my sister and my brother are, I mean, I'm first generation college students to graduate. I have 2 master's degrees. My sister's about to get her bachelor's degree this upcoming May from FAMU. My brother's about to go to high school next year. We're typically good kids, you know. We are good kids. Of course, when we're growing up at 15 years old, I was fighting in high school and get suspended. I mean, we didn't do that, you know. Like, right. I was doing all that, but it's like that's still being held against us. That's still being held against my sister. That's still being held against my parent. But, you know, it hurts, you know, that, you know, I can't go to Thanksgiving with my family. I can't because I don't really care for them. You know, I've cut that relationship because I realized growing up that this is not healthy for me or my parents or my sister or my parents to try to rebuild it. But me and my sister say, you know what, we're going to keep y'all over there. You know, I've tried to repair it and it's like, it's still not working. So I think that grief of, you know, losing that, they're still alive, but, you know, I had to come to terms with the fact, you know, not all family is good family, whether there's blood or not. So I realized, you know, like sometimes what I learned through therapy was family does not mean blood. So, you know, I've had I have great friends. I have great people in my life who we don't come from the same vagina. We don't come from the same family. We don't come from this. We're not blood related family, but we are definitely family. So I've come to find that comfort with my best friend's mom being like a grandmother, a mother figure to me, besides my mother. So it's just like, you know, I have my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, but it also hurts that, you know, and I had about that grief of family is not always, you know, blood. And that blood side of my family, my mom's side of the family, go let my grandma go and realize, you know, it's never going to work, but coming to that peace, that comfort of, you know, letting that go and moving forward. So yes.
I'm glad that you touched on that, because I'm sure we definitely have relationships where at least one or two friends where blood couldn't have made us no thicker. That is, oh my goodness. Moses, have you been through any forms of grief?
Yeah. So I have my brother actually was born when I was 5, and he passed when I was 7. So that was something that, you know, obviously took a big toll on my parents. And, you know, as a kid, like I didn't, you know, necessarily understand how to process all those different things or the toll that it took on them. But it was always something that was in the back of my mind. Like, I remember as a kid, like I didn't want to ask for a lot of stuff at Christmas or, you know, just different things like that, just because, you know, I knew that everything that my parents were dealing with. So fast forward to college, one of my biggest fears was losing like all of the elders in my family around the same time. And, you know, everything was in God's timing, but it was a difficult season. My mom lost her mom, and then my dad lost both his parents and his sister within like 2 years. So it was a lot. Like, and then on top of my grandmother, she had dementia. My father's side. So, you know, he would drive back and forth from Carroll City. So he would drive back and forth from Miami Gardens to Liberty City to take care of her. And, you know, again, it was just a lot of seeing him go through that process. So for me, again, just trying to stay connected to Christ and, you know, pray about it, meditate, and just trying to find some peace and, you know, staying connected to the people I knew that, like y'all said, not necessarily my blood family, but my best friends who were there to support me through that process as well. So, you know, as they say, death, unfortunately, is a part of life, and it does come. But I'm also glad that Jacques mentioned the whole therapy thing, and I think that's something that as a community we need to incorporate more of. Also, it was brought up about the whole church hurt thing earlier. You know, so often it's, oh, just pray about it. You know, go to the altar, and you know everything's just going to be okay. That's not always the case. So you definitely have to find and then use the tools necessary to work through those things. And you know, it's a continuous thing for all of us. But you know, that's a little bit of my experience the last 5 years or so.
I think that's important. I can definitely say that therapy and prayer has definitely helped me. I definitely too know what it's like to come from a community and a family where, you know, you pray it out. You know, you don't go to therapy, you don't talk about your feelings and emotions. But I think it's very important. I think that's one of the disservices we do in our community is telling people to just pray it away and not recognizing mental health, not recognizing just the need for therapy. Not to say that you have to do full-on multiple sessions, but just talking to somebody at least just one time. You know, one thing I want to read about grief is just a little simple quote, and it says, "Grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love." I want to say that just for me personally, from Jokera and Brittney and just the conversations that you guys have had with me, whether it's been texting or whatever time of the day, you know, I've always just appreciated that and the authenticity, me being able to vent, the mood swings, the ups and downs. We can talk about God, we can talk about foolishness, We can talk about reality shows. We can talk about all kind of stuff in between. I've always appreciated that. That's always been the consistency with that. You know, as far as Jacques, you know, you kind of came around or came into my life towards the tail end of it. So you missed most of the bipolar aspects of it. But I can say just the way that you opened up, made yourself available. You know what's so interesting about him, though, is that I first met him and he was going through something. And just having conversation, you know, just me opening up and being there, he actually gave me, just from conversation, it couldn't have been nothing but God. But I want to show y'all. And I didn't even know what made him give me this, because I didn't even feel like I shared enough for him to think I needed it, but I guess God knew that I did. And it's a book called Jesus Calling. And it's can y'all see? It's the devotional. He gave it to me, I think it was in July. And I literally read it every day. It goes to work with me. And I said to myself, only God knew for this person who at that time, I think I'd only known for maybe a few weeks. I don't think I'd even known him a month at that time. And so for God to use him to give me that, I thought that was very important. As far as Jonathan, you know, I've always been appreciative for him and his line, because I remember when I first met them, there was a particular night where I felt the need to be open. And it was so weird because I had been having some Hennessy. And so I didn't understand. I'm just thinking I'm going to be the regular, you know, Ramon, you know what I'm saying? And for some reason, in the midst of the Hennessy, I felt the need to open up about something. And I remember going home, waking up the next morning, I said, why the hell, of course I used some other words. I said, why the hell did I share that? These folks gonna think I'm batshit crazy. But they was receptive to it. I wasn't judged by it. If anything, it probably made us closer, had more respect. But one thing I appreciate was when my grandmother died and I came back, and this is the last time I talk about this, and I came back to Miami, I think I texted one of his line brothers, I can't remember. And I was just talking about, you know, I'm very particular about who I'm around, very particular about my energy, you know, being Brittney, you talk about that a lot. You know, we know how we feel about some of our respective organizational people. So, you know, I'm very particular about who I'm around. Oh yeah, Jokera had a conversation too. So I said, you know, I wouldn't mind getting up, you know, and just meeting up with some of y'all, because I hadn't seen them in so long. And, you know, there's just an attachment I have to them. Mind you now, it's 10 people, 10 Negroes. It's hard sometimes to get 3, 4 people together, let alone 10. And I remember one of them setting up, it was either one of my sons or one of his line brothers, they set up a Taco Tuesday. And I expected to see about 3 or 4 of them. And all 10 showed up. And so for me, that meant something. Because I'm in Miami alone, dealing with my grief. And I'm dealing with other stuff alone. And I'm so used to being there for other people, but I'm not used to people being there for me. And all 10 of them, to walk in there, to show, just to want to be there for me, that meant the world. And I would not have been able to make it through 2019 or 2020 if it wasn't for the 10 of them, along with, you know, 2 other of my sons. Because they were genuine, they were consistent with it. So they did it that day and did it again the next week. But beyond that, I've been able to build relationships individually with them and with them and with them as a group. And I don't think I think I've tried to be a little more open, so I know I've shared with them how much I appreciate them. But that meant the world, and I always will mean the world, simply because I felt like I'm gonna make it through this somehow, and I'm not alone. And you know, I've always really appreciated you, Jonathan, and your line brothers for that. So yeah. So I just want to say that, you know, I'm starting more to express to people how I feel about them. You know, I'm not the most sentimental person. So with that being said, I want to go to something that's a little more fun. And I want to talk about side pieces and main dishes. So, Jacques, you know, y'all Haitian men
Mm.
Mm-mm.
To set the precedence
Mm-mm.
for what it looks like to have a successful relationship, but to have successful
Sad.
industry,
Side piece.
to have successful industries on the side. You know, being an American man,
Yeah.
we tend to kind of look up to y'all Caribbean men because you guys set the example. You guys are known for it.
Oh.
I'm sure someone like yourself probably faithful, you know. But, you know, nonetheless, have you been in a situation
Sorry.
He like, wait, what?
where you have had a relationship, but you've also felt the need to have a side piece?
I am part of Faithful Black Men Association, where we don't cheat. Black men don't cheat.
Child.
Do. Love our black sisters, you know, and black queens. You know, we put them up. You know, I don't cheat. I just don't cheat. I'm not playing. No, but let me be serious here, for real. Yes, I have. I'm gonna be honest. I have had being a college student. You know, I had to. You know, I'm figuring myself out. You know, I'm trying to figure out. You know, if I want to get married now or get married 50 years down the line. You know, and you know, I'm growing. I'm older. You know, my mom always said, your 20s are your time to have fun and figure it out, trying to figure it out. So yes, I have had situations where it's not because I'm a Haitian man and, you know, people just see that, you know, we just have a bunch of different girlfriends and different wives, you know, but we don't do that, you know. But I've had situations where I have had side pieces and main pieces.
Let me flip it. Have you ever knowingly and willingly been the side dude?
100%.
Okay. And what made you okay? What made you okay with being the side dude?
Because I feel like sometimes, you know, you want to have fun with me? That's fine with me. I don't got to feed you. I don't got to do nothing for you. I got to show up to your house, do what I got to do, and go home. It doesn't come with the stress. It doesn't come with the stress. I got to take care of you. I got to buy you Valentine's. On Valentine's Day, wherever you want me to come, I'll come back to you and go stress him out. Don't stress me out, though. I'm good. So if you stress me out, I remind you what it is. Like, remember what we talked about? This is our situation. And
right.
I think, you know, being a side dude, you're able to maintain those boundaries and not go too far, because I'll be a side piece. Hey, what you want from me? I'll be there, I'll leave. I ain't gonna come to your business. When you're ever cool. You like it, I love it.
Hello, somebody. Miss Brittney Revere, how about you? Have you ever had a side person? Have you ever been the side person? Share what you're comfortable with sharing.
Oh my. Yeah, I don't have a side piece. I will be honest and say that. And it was lovely.
What you say?
It was lovely.
I love your honesty.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever knowingly been a side piece? Yes, and that was lovely too, only because I'm grown. What I do as an adult is my business. Like, my bills was getting paid. I was getting wined and dined. I was going to Houston's. We was going to J. Alexander's, East Waterfront, whatever restaurant you could think of. Baby, we gonna eat because I like to eat.
Hello.
So you want to go out? We could do Our House and Chili's too. But if you want to step it up a little bit, let's go, because it's coming out of your pocket. Not to say that I'm a gold digger or anything, but I ain't gonna turn down no free food or no free money, honey.
Hello.
Especially when you ain't got to do nothing for it.
Hello.
Because some men just want the attention. They want what they don't get at home. It does not necessarily mean that they want sex. And I will be honest and say, the encounter that I had as far as having a side piece and being a side piece, they went hand in hand. I was the same, person in regards to that situationship. And let me tell you something. I ask the question all the time, why is it that you find yourself so, intrigued or attracted to me, or whatever the case may be? And the answer was because the first time that you actually texted me and gave me a chance, you asked me, how was my day? How am I feeling today? Did I eat? Is there anything on my mind? Things of that sort. And whoever they had at that time was not doing those things for whatever reason. I mean, there's always 3 sides to a story, 2 truths and a lie. So I could only take what that person said as face value. But at the end of the day, appreciation goes a long way, and, you know, generosity and just showing someone that you care for them, because our men in our African American cultures and Caribbean and things of that sort, even Hispanics or whatnot, the way that we was raised, men, well, from a female perspective, the way that men were raised, especially being raised in a house with three brothers, a stepbrother and two half brothers who are twins, their mom always told them, "Shut up! What you crying for? You crying like you a little girl. Stop crying." And I hate that when parents tell their kids that, because now, as they are adults in their 20s, the twins are, I think, 26 or 27, and my stepbrother is 31. No, he just turned 30 in December, so he'll be 31 this year. It's difficult for them to show emotion. Their emotion is anger. They get angry and upset at everything, and they lash out. And then when you try to have a conversation about them to dissect what the issue is, when you really hit that vein, then you realize, you know, I just was hurt. My feelings was hurt, and I didn't know how to say that I was hurt. I didn't know how to express myself. Then eventually they start, you know, shedding a little tear or two. So I feel like with being a side piece, or knowingly or unknowingly or whatever, having an entanglement, as Jada Pinkett would say, listen, it's a lot that comes with it. But from my point of view, it had everything to do with appreciation and just being someone that has a listening ear. Because some people just need somebody to talk to. A lot of people carry so many things on their shoulders, especially our Black men in today's society, when they have families to take care of, the money looking funny, you know, their parents have health issues or things of that sort. They have issues with their, you know, relatives or whatever the case may be, just day-to-day life. And some people don't take the time out to listen to their significant other. They bombard their significant other with their problems instead of taking a step back and saying, you know what, babe, let me ask you, how was your day today? Enough about my day, enough about my drama at work, enough about how I feel about the group text that me and my homegirls got going on because one of them pissed me off. Let me see where your mind is at.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean.
Jonathan?
So you already done said it. You know, entanglements, they kind of happen. They happen. Hey, it's a part of life. I never been married. I had no ring on my finger. But like Jokera was, I think it was Jokera. No, that was Brittney. I was just saying. I think the main thing is just like communication. A lot of times, you know, people end up in relationships and then you sticking with it for what, just because y'all been together for this amount of time or whatever the case may have been. But you know, y'all may not. A lot of times, people aren't like, you know, equally yoked to that extent where they need to actually be together for a long period of time. So, you know, yes, those things, you know, do occur. Now, when I get married, that's a different conversation. But for right now, yeah, situation. Yes.
Should one be looked down upon if they're okay being the side piece? And I'm not talking about, oh, they're the side piece and they're just giving somebody attention. I'm talking about, you know, there's a man and you sexing and everything and on everything over as a side piece. Should they be looked down upon if they're okay with being in that role, Jokera?
No. And I'm gonna say no, because if I say yes, then I'd be a hypocrite. But nonetheless, I think that every individual lives their own life, and if they're okay and it can accept whatever it is that they're doing and it's working for them, then so be it. Like, who am I to tell them how to live their life or what they should be doing with their life? And you know, there's different moments in our lives where, again, like, you know, we may be okay with being a side piece or having a side piece, and there's going to be another time in life where we feel like we don't want to do that anymore. Like, that's not a part of us. And, you know, and I feel like it can go back and forth. Like, it's not like, oh, at 25, you stop having side pieces or dealing with side pieces. And, you know, at 35, you must be, you know, a one mate person. But I think it's to each his own. So as far as like looking down on somebody, because you're looking down on somebody because, you know, they choose to be a side piece or have a side piece, but what you doing? You may, you know, your vice may not be the side pieces, but your vice may be something else.
We all got one.
Hello.
Yeah.
So yeah, nah, it ain't no looking down on nobody for that.
Right. You know, and you know, this is definitely one of the chapters, and I actually call it a relationship art, because I think some people make it look like it's an art. I feel like it's different levels to it, especially to make it work. It's different levels to it, especially when you can have a side piece who is content with her role and she don't try to spill over and mess up the main situation or even the side dude. Because I'm looking at Jacques, I just see it in his eyes. I'm pretty sure he's probably had a situation where the side piece tried to mess up the main situation. Something in his eyes is just telling me a story. But nonetheless, in talking about some of the pros and cons, I'm gonna just read. I think I have like 3 pros and 3 cons. I want y'all opinion on it. So 3 pros that I came across. You don't have to deal with the BS. And I think Jacques kind of spoke about that. I ain't got to worry about catering to you. I ain't got to worry about paying no bills. I don't have to worry about your mood swings. I don't have to worry about none of that. The second one is you're incognito. I can do what I got to do. I don't have to be out in public with you. We don't have to go on dates. I don't have to escort you to no political gala. It's just whatever in the background. And, you know, that's what it is. Nobody got to know I exist. The other one is unlimited supply. If you are a real side person, you take full advantage of this and you turn it into being a blessing. If you have enough chicks, you will have an unlimited supply of the Hello Kitty.
All right.
You never have to worry about having blue balls. Your game is on point. You can have Shayna on Sunday, Shayla on Monday, Krista on Tuesday, Wendy on Wednesday, Jokera on Thursday, and Brittney on Friday.
I love Fridays.
You said 1, Ramon. You don't talk about 5 now. You
Right.
Well, you know, one a day. You get a little variety.
And make sure it's safe.
And then 3 of my cons is she don't belong to you. And we know at some point Billy's gonna get involved. He or she don't belong to you though. So you can't wanna have territory or be controlling over your side piece, because she could be your side piece and somebody else's side piece. And I've had some friends I know have issues with that, but she's your side piece. You got a whole main. Why are you mad that she also kicking with so-and-so around the corner? You know what I'm saying? You don't control her. The second con is you can't tell anyone who you're sleeping with. So you know, a lot of times we get with our friends and we want to brag about who we're in a relationship with or who we're dealing with. You can't really do that because this ain't your main, and you might try to be holding court with somebody who want to blow your spot out because they jealous or just who got diarrhea of the mouth. And then the other one is you can't count on her or him. For example, if someone is your wife or your girlfriend, you probably have certain expectations. If you go through a rough patch or if you're going through something or, you know what I'm saying, you need somebody to do a favor, run a quick errand for you, cook for you, whatever. These are more so girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, husband responsibilities. But if he's your side piece or she's your side piece, you can't really put those expectations. You can't really count on them. You're behind, you get a flat tire, and God forbid your wife at work or whatever, you can't necessarily count on him or her to start what they're doing to come save you because they just a side piece. You know what I'm saying? So what do y'all think about some of those pros and cons, Jokera?
So honestly though, to some of the cons, like I get it to a certain extent. Like, you know, you're not putting the same dependence on them as you might like your main mate.
Right.
However, there's a certain extent that I feel that should be given or provided because you know, there's still a connection, you know what I'm saying? Like in the event that I needed, even because I'm dealing with you, in the event that I needed something, maybe not like drop dead, but not drop dead like every time.
Right.
But if it comes a moment where I feel the need that I need to reach out for you, like because we're dealing with each other, you should still be able to do something about that. But to the pros, I agree. Like they're limited. Like you it's kind of like on your own schedule. Right. You don't have to be. It kind of takes out the monotony or, you know, the routine of a regular relationship.
Right. So Jacques, have you had a situation where you were the side piece or you had a side piece and they tried to violate one of these pros?
Me?
Yes, you only dropped out here, fool.
I'm sorry. Yeah, definitely. It happens once. It happened once or twice, a couple times. I think what happens is, when you doing somebody, once you set the boundaries, but sometimes when you start acting, you're doing more than you need to, per se. Then they start feeling like they need to also either. Sometimes emotions get involved. Simple as we doing this with no strings attached, and then emotion people catch feelings, and then boom. Then people start thinking they're more than what they are, and I think that's the issue. Is make sure you reiterating those boundaries and setting those lines and saying they're just saying what it is, it ain't what it is not what you think it is. Just reminding them that they don't like it. On to the next one.
Miss Revere,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever had a side piece that tried to break one of the cons, or did you break one of the cons?
Nope.
So I like that. You had groundwork. Listen, this what's on the table. Don't violate that. Don't play stupid. We know what it is.
Listen, if I see you in public and you with your old lady, I don't even know you. I ain't gonna look your way. And if you see me with somebody other than you in my business. Don't do that. I keep it 100. Listen, and if we was to go out and we got caught together somewhere, I ain't telling nobody shit. Well, I'm sorry, but I just met this person. We just sat down and we was talking and just so happened to have lunch together or dinner or something. Because guess what, baby? Somebody called my phone. I ain't got no receipts. I ain't got no pictures. I ain't got nothing. Because guess what? You paid everything in cash.
I know that's right. Hello, somebody. So I'm curious, Jonathan, have you ever been in a situation where you've been out in public and let's say someone who you're their side piece or they're your side piece, they there with somebody else? Have you ever been in a situation? Like y'all didn't know that each other was going to be there, but God darn it, you just happen to be at the same event or the same venue.
Yeah.
What's that like?
So I think the main issue again is just catching feelings when you're not supposed to be catching feelings. So I did have someone that kind of get to that point, and she knew, of course, where I'm at, like locally where I stay, where I kind of go on Friday, Saturday, or whatever. And it's a public thing, but it's like she kind of like plotted on that. So I did have an issue with that. So I'm like, you just popping up on me now, like. But we handled it or whatever. But yeah, you just gotta know your place, like you said. Keep it 100. Keep it 100. You know what it is, and yeah, respect those boundaries.
Have you guys ever had a fatal attraction type of situation, or like a thin line between love and hate, or maybe not so severe?
No.
Like a stalker?
Yeah.
No.
Or they retaliate in a way, bash them tires, key your car, ride on your wall.
Oh, nah.
Nah.
No. I've come close.
Okay.
But
by being the perpetrator or the victim?
Being the perpetrator.
Wow.
Hey, tell the truth, friend. I love
it. But I held myself from going through with it, but I was close. I was very close.
Was it in Tampa?
No. I was very mad, huh?
With the socks in the orange.
You was about to get ready to do the Angela Bassett on them.
Listen, well, it wasn't. So the issue was, it was like a New Year's night. I was having conversation with my boyfriend at the time, but dialogue stopped, and I'm trying to understand why. You're not responding to me.
Right.
I'm trying to say you Happy New Year and all that jazz, but you're not responding. So I'm going to drive by your house. I drive by your house. Whose car is this? So it's an extra car in the driveway. I knew whose car it was.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So nonetheless, but being mad, was mad that night, but actually went back the next morning. But nonetheless, I did not damage anybody's property.
Right.
You didn't get anybody car, but you get somebody else to do it?
No, no, I didn't. I just had very evil thoughts. That's as far as it went. I never actually executed anything.
Listen. I really appreciate y'all. That is it for tonight. I ain't gonna keep you guys no longer. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Brittney, Jonathan, Jokera, Jacques, thank y'all so much for supporting me with this and open up and sharing and this was enjoyable. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
It was definitely fun. Thank you for having us. I enjoyed everybody's feedback.
Nice to meet
Good to hear
you.
y'all perspective, man. Thank y'all for sharing.
You all as well.
Absolutely. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for the zone today. We are officially shutting it down. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember this. Anybody who's disturbing your peace needs to be released from your life to go storm somewhere else. Holla.